I had a lockdown dream last night that I want to share with you. Today is September 14th, 2023. I don't know if this dream means anything or not, but there's some imagery in it that means something to me and suggests that this may have been a prescient dream. So I'm going to share it with you. I was in Kansas City with a friend of mine, and I don't really know if this was actual Kansas City or just what I imagined it to be, because it's been quite a few years since I've been there. But I was in a bad part of town with a friend, and we were walking down a road, and there was somebody walking with us that was talking about his experiences in Kansas City, and they were very gross experiences. And for some reason we were like being forced to listen to this, almost as if it were a narrative that was playing and we couldn't get away from it. And it was disturbing, the stuff that he was saying and the things that he and some people that he knew were doing in a movie theater, and just weird. And that'll be relevant later. I don't know direction wise if we were going north, south, east, and west, but I'll just guess that there was a river running east and west, and that we were walking across it on a road that was a bridge, north and south. And it wasn't a bridge that had anything overhead. It was pylons that went down into the river and a road that went across the river. And that road was a 4-lane highway approximately. It was quite wide. We were in a bad part of town, and there was a lot of traffic in that area. It was nighttime, and we crossed over the river because we were looking for food. And it was a fairly homeless area. It was run down, just a bad neighborhood. And then we ended up, I guess we ate or whatever, maybe we didn't. We started walking back across. And before we crossed, there was a road that was running parallel to the river. And we looked across the road that was crossing the river back the way we came, and for some reason it wasn't appealing to us. We thought, this is not the road to be on right now. It was just an understanding. And my friend looked down the side road and said, well, we can still get to where we're going back home if we go this way. But I knew that that was a bad way to go. We looked down there, and I had been that way before. In my dream, I had memories of having gone down that road and taken that path home, and that it was not a good way to go. And we looked down there, and we could see it was very dark, and there were crowds of people, and it was very anarchistic. And I had memories of what it was like down there. And when I had gone down there before, I made it through just fine. Almost like a journalist in the middle of a riot or a protest or something. That it was just, everyone was hands off when it came to me. But there was just a lot of drug use, homelessness, all manner of debauchery going on. And there was an understanding also in this dream that noticeable portions of Kansas City had been given over to this just filth and debauchery and just really unhealthy lifestyle, and had just accepted it as a way of life, that this was just a part of life now. So there was that understanding in the dream as well. So I said, no, let's not go down that road. Let's just go back the way we came. So we began to cross the river again on this fairly large road. And as we got onto the road, we noticed that all of a sudden, police started barricading in front of us. Just a row of cop cars that were coming along the river in front of us, on the side we were trying to go to, had just pulled up in front of our road, basically blocking the bridge that we were on. And they put up barricades very quickly, lined with cop cars and cops standing there. And we looked behind us, and they had done the same thing behind us, and they'd done this very quickly. And everyone on the bridge, and there were a lot of people walking on the bridge. There were some cars as well. It was late at night, and it was a lot of people were out. I don't know why so many people were out late at night, but they were. And we all felt trapped on the bridge, like we were stuck there. And people started panicking, and they all started running in one direction or the other. And so we started running because we thought, well, there might still be time to get through this barricade before we get trapped on this bridge. And so we all ran, we all got off the bridge, we all kind of went through a couple of key channels where the cops were weaker or something like that, and they weren't really resisting, they weren't hitting us with batons or anything like that. As we got through, there were people in the streets running around trying to get wherever they were trying to go. And some people were victimizing other people, taking advantage, opportunists, something like that. And I saw one guy stalking another one. And I said out loud, I said, he's with us now. And what I was doing was basically making this proclamation that I expected to manifest in the material world. And that was, whoever is next to us is our people now. Whoever is in our proximity is our people. And we need to gather immediately into groups so that we can defend ourselves against people who want to prey on the weak, or any other roaming packs of thugs or opportunists or troublemakers or whatever. So the guy stalking the other guy jumped on him, and I jumped on that guy, and I basically smashed his head into the ground a bunch of times, and he wasn't hurt because, you know, sometimes it happens in dreams, but he let go of the person who he was victimizing, and that was one of our guys now. Cut there in the dream to suddenly we were back at an apartment complex, and it was home base for the night or whatever. And like I said, I knew I was in Kansas City, although I don't recognize any of the places I was from the time I've spent in Kansas City. And I was wondering what was going on, and suddenly my dad called. And when I have a conversation with my dad in a dream, a lot of times it is to interpret what is going on in the dream, or it's some kind of bringing some kind of divine clarity to me. And so I picked up the phone and I said, what's going on? And he said, they've locked down Kansas City and St. Louis. And that was all the information that I remember that he shared with me. And I hung up the phone, and people were out on the street kind of like they would be after an earthquake or a fire drill, where everybody leaves the building and they're just kind of out hanging out, and there's a certain type of energy, and people are talking and wondering what's going on and sharing information. And it was that type of energy. And so everyone was real chatty and kind of excited, but kind of nervous and wondering what was taking place. And these were people who had not been on the bridge with me, and they had not experienced the panic and the chaos that was going on in another part of town. And in the dream, there was sort of a suggestion that people were not getting information that they needed or that they wanted. They were acting like you would act in the 80s, which was, I wonder what's going on. If your TV's not working and your radio's not working, you're not collecting information. And that was kind of the feeling that was there. And there was some excitement with it, and there was freedom to it, and there was an opportunity for people to strike up conversations and to connect over things and to feel maybe a little less lonely than they did 10 minutes ago, because they had an excuse. They had a reason to connect with people. And I was specifically noticing women, young women or young single women, looking to strike up conversations with men that felt safe to them. And I've kind of mentioned before in one of my other videos that I've noticed that trend taking place lately in the real world. So one of the feelings that I had after I had time to process this while I was still in the dream was that I was upset with myself about panicking on the bridge and running. And I thought, I really wish I had remained calm and just looked around to see what was going on and looked for opportunity to do something meaningful, or to do something or be something that other people were not of the mind to be or do at that moment. But there were such a big group of people stampeding that it could have been pretty dangerous to not keep up with the crowd. So I ended up keeping up with the crowd, and everything worked out. And that is the entirety of the dream. There are a couple of points that I didn't think were relevant before, and now I'm starting to see might have some relevance. And it was a theme that seemed to come up a couple times. And one was the debauchery. That we were being led around, or that we were being accompanied by this guy who was very comfortable talking about some pretty disturbing things that should not be taking place in public. And if they are, they shouldn't be celebrated. And basically, when if you got a group of people doing something like this in a movie theater, it's no longer a movie theater. And that's not a place you can take your kids. And that is not a healthy society. And that is not a safe place. And that is a sign that the system of enforcement has broken down. And that people's morality has broken down. That they have relinquished themselves to a way of being where they're not even trying anymore. They don't care. They're not trying. They've just given in. And there's a difference between accepting a part of ourselves that is not quite what we want it to be, that is struggling, that is imperfect, that is responding to trauma or fear from our past, versus embracing the symptoms of the disease itself and just saying, I refuse to deal with this disease. I refuse to just accept that part of myself and let it come out and breathe and practice this unconditional love toward whatever's going on in me. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to celebrate the symptoms of the disease. And I'm going to embrace the symptoms of the disease as if they are who I am. And I refuse to uncover the source of it, the root of it. I refuse to open myself up to possibilities of what might be going on inside of me. I refuse to be vulnerable and look at what's going on inside of me. I'm just going to shut off to all that stuff and just celebrate the symptoms. And that was what was taking place. So I don't want to say that the vibe was like Sodom and Gomorrah, because what do I know? All I know is what I've told you. And I think that's it. Do what you want with it. I don't know if it means anything. I did not realize until an hour after I woke up that, oh yeah, Kansas City and St. Louis are both in Missouri. Or at least a part of Kansas City is, right? So, is it meaningful? I don't know. Just thought I'd share it ahead of time, and there it is. All right. Catch you on the next one.